Book 8, Sayings, Chapter 1. Hearken, evil times have befallen the wise and upright. Truth shows her light no more, and deceit walks the land, garbed in gay raiment and with a bold front. These times of evil and these days of affliction were foreshadowed by a decline in the goodness of men, by the lust for pleasure among the people, and a seeking after things which bring forgetfulness, in carelessness of craftsmanship, in indecision of thought, in disdain for wisdom, and in disregard for the welfare of the land. Men think only of earthly things, and therefore earth becomes a region ruled by wickedness and corruption. Therefore give heed to these sayings, for they are offered for your benefit. They are not things recorded carelessly or without reason. They will enlighten the ignorant and give all men assurance that they may steer a steady course through life. Fill your bellies with them, as with cool waters. Store them up, as a prudent man stores corn against the time of famine. These instructions will be more honored and cherished by the man of Elohim in times of trials and tribulations than shalom and plenty. My friends, if your desire is the attainment of perfection, beauty, and goodness, along with the knowledge of the ultimate in truth, then do not be disobedient to the Supreme Elohim. Throughout the land, people complain that they have little to live for. But it would be more true to say that they have nothing to die for. They can see no purpose in life, but the truth is they can see no purpose in death. When the light of the lived religion is given to the world, it will not be a world ready to welcome it or even ready to receive it. The world to which it will come will be a sick, disordered world, reluctant to take the medicine which will restore it to health. The lived religion is not a formula for blind belief. It is not a matter of doctrine alone, and dogmatic belief must not be rigidly imposed, though loyalty and unity are certainly to be expected from those who follow its light. The lived religion is not so much a belief or doctrine as a way of living. It is the way of life of a company of kindred Rukot heading for the same destination, all sharing the same adventure with its hazards and excitement, all seeking the best road together. It is a practical religion, teaching the doctrine of evolving betterment. It establishes a standard for men to live by, which will make them better men, and permit them to live in shalom and harmony with others. It values the qualities of courage, audacity, fortitude, and steadfastness. It upholds the virtues of modesty, patience, purity, and gentleness. Its prime objectives are to the carrying out of the divine design and the service of mankind. It is a religion lived and not just believed in. The lived religion demands to be expressed in deeds and not in words, in beneficial action and not in blind conformity. It is more interested in bringing out the inward good than in outward display and pomp. It concerns itself with whatever is necessary for the unfolding of the Ruach, and its aim is to spur man upward to divinity. The lived religion believes that man is the instrument of the Divine One and his deputy on earth. That man is entrusted with certain responsibilities and duties, which he can shirk only to his cost. Whether he succeeds or not, he can blame no one except himself. Chapter 2. Perhaps too much has been said about man's destination, and not enough about the way to get there. A man who travels is better served by information about the road, its turnoffs and landmarks, than about the comfort of his destination. Ford the rivers and cross the hills before you concern yourself with the warmth of the lodging when you arrive. Most things written here are not for sleeping men, for an infant cannot be entrusted with a firebrand. Little purpose is served by talking to a sleeping man, still less to a deaf man, and less still to one who has no desire to hear. So it is that men walk as though in a fog, and see things hazily or with distortion. You, my friends, must go out among them, and take their hands and be their guides. If they will not follow, they alone suffer. For if you do your best, you can do no more. Be vigilant concerning every deed, for the eyes of men are ever upon you. The life you live is not yours alone. You are the image which men will imitate, and you are before every eye. The blowing wind will open its ear at your windows and spread wide its report. The flowing waters beside your door will carry what they behold throughout the land. The apathetic man becomes deluded under the influence of his own ideas and imagination. He readily accepts teachings requiring no thought or effort. If ever a teacher comes along who says, "Surrender your will and reason to me, and I will assure you of everlasting life," that teacher will be unable to count his followers. There are things buried in the future with which it is unprofitable to deal, so what is said in the scripture must suffice. Better by far to deal with the problems of today, though even these are less important than learning the nature of Elohim. To act as men do when worshiping is to belittle the supreme Elohim. How can one so great be worshipped and served by fires and candles, by mumbled words falling thoughtlessly on unhearing ears, by ornaments and incense? These things may serve a purpose in aiding man's awakening, but it is hypocritical to say they are necessary to the supreme Elohim, and blasphemy to say he requires them from man. The supreme Elohim rises above the worship of men and says, "If such things please man, then let the offerer become the recipient. The truly enlightened worship me by a compliment. In trying to match their purity and goodness with my reflection of these qualities coming down from on high. This is true worship, the ennobling of the lesser self, goodness in thought, word, and deed, the subjection of material urges, a constant disciplining of the body, and an unwavering devotion to the cause of mankind, which is the cause of Adonai. These please me, provided they are not clouded with hypocrisy." Chapter 3. This is the secret of life. Man lives in Elohim, and Elohim lives in man. This answers all questions. A child is born knowing all Adon intended it to know. The rest it must discover for itself. Man worships not to make Elohim greater, for this he cannot do, but to make himself greater. Nothing man can do can add to what he already has. Man does not live to increase my glory. This cannot be done. He who worships with empty rituals wastes his time and displays the shallowness of his thought. Men conceive me as a being having greatly magnified human qualities, as a king-like being greater than any king. Thus, man falls into error. If a man would know heaven, he must first know earth. Man cannot understand heaven until he understands earth. He cannot understand me until he understands himself. And he cannot know love unless he has been loveless. Elohim is unknown, but not unknowable. He is unseen, but not unseeable. Elohim is unheard, but not unhearable. He is not understood, but he is understandable. The best way to know and understand anything is to study its properties. And this applies to the Supreme Elohim. So therefore consider, what is beauty? What is goodness? What is perfection? Can any man think long on the wonder of creation and the complexity of created things, and declare truthfully that he believes they came into being of their own accord? Can he look at the awesome beauty of the spinning heavens, now so old, and yet so full of vitality, with never a sign of declining powers, and say there is no motivator behind it? Can he look at the life-giving light of day and the growth-controlling light of the night, at the teeming earth and stars, and honestly believe that all this is a matter of pure chance? Could all this vast and splendidly run universe have created itself? It could if a tapestry can weave itself, or a statue chisel itself out of the rock. Chapter 4. There are men without merit themselves. They appeal to the deeds of their forefathers for credit. What good is it to the blind man that his father could see? What benefit to the illiterate that his father could write? Is it not more to his discredit that he is what he is? He who walks in the shadow of his father's reputation has none of his own. He who establishes his reputation upon that of another erects a building without foundation. Even the ass of Pharaoh is still an ass. A worthless man does worthless things. His death removes an encumbrance from the earth. A wise man is one who bathes in the waters of wisdom. A fool is one who wallows in the filth of folly. The well of wisdom is not a public place from which anyone may draw without discrimination. Its entrance is barred to he of the loud mouth, but open to receive the calm and silent one. Though where today are the men of quiet manner and calm bearing? No wise words or well-phrased writings are needed to inform men that the light of the sun exceeds that of the moon, or that he who has toiled through the heat of the day will not lie on a bed of sleeplessness. Things experienced by a few that are unknown to the many have to be explained. Such are ruacual things. But where today are those who have known and experienced them, who can explain them to others? Words are unimportant for prayer. For good and fine words alone are not edifying to Elohim. He hears that which is spoken from the heart and reads that which is written in the soul. Therefore, those who are answered are few. Those who are not, because of their own inadequacy, say, "Where is Elohim? He hears me not." The souls of men, swathed in flesh and wrapped in passions, cannot easily commune with Elohim. If one write so that none can read it, is the reader or the writer at fault if it cannot deliver its message? Successful prayer needs much conditioning of the soul. It requires a lot of preliminary preparation and is, therefore, rare. Men say, prayer is futility, and to such as they, so it is. The ingredients of prayer are humility, sincerity, surrender of desire, acknowledgement of inadequacy, and a wholehearted offering of self. It is the opening of a door to admit a wonderful power into the chambers of the soul. Prayer, as it should be, is followed by profound shalom, a ruachual uplifting, and a feeling of inner quietude, as though a cool, clean breeze sweeps into the ruach, strengthening and reviving it, so that clear thinking follows naturally. When at prayer, listen to the voice of your ruach, for it may be interpreting the words of Abba Adonai. Prayer renders the soul articulate. The length of prayer is unimportant, but the depth and range of prayer matters above all else. Prayer is a state of harmony, embracing heart and ruach. It is not a rite. Prayer is the communication of the soul of man with the soul of Elohim. It is the effective means whereby the great well of ruachual power and inspiration is tapped. Above all, it is not a babble of words. Chapter 5. Torot are made by man, and the same Torot are changed by other men, while yet more live in defiance. But no man on earth truly knows what is right and what is wrong. The Torah of life can be discovered only in the inspired writings. The time is not far distant when men should no longer think in terms of being good or wicked, rich or poor, sick or healthy, but in terms of being ruachual or material. O man, who is both beast and Elohim, see yourself for what you truly are. Be reasonable and see truth. Every thinking man must surely realize now that there is something more to life than happiness, wealth, and luxury. That life must be more than an idle drifting. That there must be more than walking around seeking enjoyment. In his daily life and in all he does, each man should conduct himself as though intending to be a living example to others. He should act as though dedication to service is the greatest cause any man can serve, and invite others to join him. He should be a leader showing the way, and a guide indicating the path others should follow, though the journey each must walk alone. Unless they would be put out by the mockers, carriers of light must possess more than a dim, smoky glimmer. The goal of life is upstream, not downstream. Man must struggle against the current, not drift with the flow. Among men, some are born to rule and some to obey. If you cannot rule, learn to obey. If you cannot obey, make yourself a better man that you may be raised up to rule. That which man does to benefit man is good. One lifting hand is worth 10 wagging tongues. Though it is folly to sit irresolutely at the crossroads, is it wiser to press forward along the wrong road? Those who seek to assert their individuality at the expense of others are a menace not to be tolerated. Everyone is to be granted the greatest possible freedom, up to, but not beyond the point where it infringes on the freedom, rights, or contentment of others. It is impossible to give complete freedom to any man, and no man is worthy of it. The only man entitled to be free is the one who governs himself strictly and wisely. The free man is his own governor, and his rule is more rigorous than that of a despot. A man is unworthy of freedom unless he also recognizes the rights of others to the same freedom. Every nation moves either towards freedom or towards servility, for none can remain suspended between the two. It is free men, if they are weak, who are the greatest enemies of freedom. Chapter 6. Great events do not make either heroes or weaklings. They just unveil them to the eyes of other men. If you pray out of habit, or give generously for praise, or if you do good for the sake of acclaim, then you are a hypocrite. The hypocrite, the liar, and the deceiver are brothers, and all distort their souls. Truth can fall from their lips, but it is usually in the form of bait. For the wrongdoer and he who walks in wickedness, the passing years plants more wrinkles and scars on the face of the soul than on the face of the body. Speak not until you have full understanding of a matter, and can explain it to even he who knows more. In matters close to your heart, never fear that you will be lost for words. For if the heart be wrung, the mouth will open in eloquence. But be wise, even a dog makes a noise when kicked. Men bear the burden of their body with unintended sadness. They are like a man living in an empty tomb who shrinks from the bright sunlight outside. The longer he hesitates, the whiter and weaker his body becomes. It is not so important to give to the poor man as to remove the cause of his poverty. To help the weak is good, but of lesser importance than to attack their oppressor. My friends, the world need not be a place overrun with evil. If men could only cleanse the garments of their minds, it could be a place of unceasing joy. Look for the man of merit and see that he does not go unrewarded. Encourage the craftsman and promote useful works. Let your wealth serve all men and not be dissipated in selfish indulgences. Seek out the promoters of poverty and distress and cast your riches in the balances against them. Do not expect life to reward you or even grant you shalom or pleasure. The powerful and strong will be your enemies, and even those you serve will betray you. You will not be acclaimed and may even be derided as a fool. Only your soul will remain steadfast beside you. If you asked for one rule to guide you safely, I would say to ignore the authoritative voice of the body and listen to the quiet whispers of the soul. Chapter 7. A rich man is not wicked because of his riches, for this of itself neither makes a man wicked nor makes him good. It is the manner whereby he deals with his riches that determines a man's status. There is little advantage in the mere possession of riches. The advantage is gained in knowing how to use them. The riches which exceed your modest requirements are superfluous to your welfare. It is by your dealings with the surplus that you will be judged. Let not your generosity be hampered by the riches you have. Rejoice in their possession, for if used for good, your pleasure is without blame. But he who stores up riches beyond his needs and puts them to no good use swathes his soul in the wrappings of death. So wait not until men come seeking your compassion. Find them first, and assist them without desiring praise or benefit. Let your ear be ever alert for the cry of the needy, and your arm ever ready to aid the unprotected. Let the sorrow of innocent suffering never go unheeded. Pour forth succor to those who can find no other to aid them. When the widow and orphan beseech your aid with eyes of suffering, open the gates of compassion within your heart, for he who turns from the rags of the destitute and ignores the pale cheek of the hungry smites his soul with paralyzing blows. Is it a matter for wonder that it becomes dead and insensitive, unfeeling and unresponsive? If for no other reason, have compassion on others for your own sake, for it molds your greater form in a glory everlasting. While even one man groans in misery in the habitations of poverty, or there remains one gray head bowed with distress to plead for aid, how can you go your way unmoved by compassion, dissipating your time and substance in unprofitable enjoyments? You who indulge in vain pleasures unfeelingly, while others want and suffer, will someday eat your own heart out in the dark barrenness within the gloomy depths, haunted by bitterness and regret. Of what good are gold and silver when an abundance causes so much wickedness? The metals the great Adon placed in the bosom of the earth to serve man have become his master. Blame not the metals, for they of themselves are neutral. But behold, are they not found in abundant quantities among the worst types of men? Are they not held in greatest esteem by the weakling, who thinks they provide a substitute for the strength he lacks? If you have become great, having once been lowly, or if having been destitute, have now acquired possessions, forget not what has happened to you in the days that are past. Place not your whole trust, nor build your hopes on the things which have, after all, but come as a gift from Elohim. You would not be superior to any other man if what had happened to you had happened to them. Is it by your own manliness and goodness that you have risen? If rich, become not puffed up because of your possessions. Or if poor, be not downhearted. For Elohim in his wisdom has presented you this test. The poor man says, "Oh, that I had riches and could be free from worry and care." The rich man says, "Oh, that I could cast aside my responsibilities and live in shalom." If you be numbered among the poor, take comfort, for you have many causes for thankfulness. Can you not sit at your table with a quiet mind, undisturbed by the clacking tongues of flatterers and hypocrites? Do the demands of needy men disturb your shalom? Does the morsel you eat not taste wholesome? In the stomach of the rich, it would sit as a stone. Possessions and position attract friends as honey attracts bees, but it is adversity which winnows them. Riches do not bring shalom to the soul, and the greatest treasure of all is a contented heart. Men test gold for its value, and gold tests men for their hearts. A piece of arable land fenced about, a plot of meadow, a grove of sycamore trees, a faithful wife, and many sons. What more can a man desire? Chapter 8. When you give, consider well the deed. Is it really you who gives? Is it not more true to say it is life giving to life, a transfer from one guardian of life to another? What are you but the instrument, the witness, the agent of the transaction? You are the debtor of life, for has it not given you all you have? If there be among men one who has received nothing from life, then let him be the one who refuses to give. The good giver gives, and thereafter does not remember the gift. The receiver, if he be worthy, never forgets it. None is worse than the mean man who has riches and estate, for he rides heavily on the backs of his servants, and waxes fat on the sweat of their brows. He is without compassion or feeling, and the ruin of his brother brings him no sorrow. For the increase in his riches, the mean man secretly rejoices at the death of his father, and he, being also hypocritical, will be the loudest in lamentation. The mean man and the braggart may seem incompatible, but man is a many-sided creature. The mean and miserly heart and the most boastful tongue so often share the same body. To gather riches for their own sake corrupts the soul, but to deal with them to the benefit of others beautifies it. See the face of the miser, and imagine the dark horror it dimly reflects. And behold the face of the benevolent man. Does it not mirror the radiance within? Be faithful to the trust which your master reposes in you, that you may be more trusted and become greater. The time and labor for which he pays belongs to him, and if dealt with indifferently, you rob him. Never injure the arm that protects you, or undermine the supports for the roof that provides shelter. He serves best who serves silently. The trusted servant is he who keeps his tongue in check. A wagging tongue has its roots in a quaking heart. Go quietly about your task. The reward is your own self-respect, knowing that it is well done. The peasant steals handful by handful, and the prince steals load by load, and it is better to have clean hands than full ones. The wrongdoer becomes a slave to his own wickedness. Therefore, do that which is right, and your ruach shall remain free. Chapter 9. The busiest tongue has the least cause to wag. What does it seek to cover up? Govern yourself, and you can rule the land. But the best way to succeed is to follow the advice you give others. Most men can beat adversity well enough, but if you really want to test a man, give him power. If undertaking a great enterprise, ensure the support of a trustworthy friend, for nothing can be done unaided. Even when burning a field of stubble, the aid of the wind is necessary. The price of success is continued diligence and effort. For though gold may be melted completely, let the fire grow cold and it hardens again. Seek not to dwell within the shadow of a man because of his estate or because he has titles. Better men may be lacking these. Do you judge the ass by its bridle? Is not your neighbor worthy of your consideration? Is he not your partner in earth, your brother in Elohim? No man is worthy to judge the failings of another, unless he too has experienced their temptations. It is easy enough to see the failings of another. This any man can do, and even easier to sit in judgment on them. But it takes a thoughtful man to see the failings of his own. Never go about men with a sad face. Men care not for the countenance of gloom. But that which is pleasant is easy to remember. It is easy for a man to appear great when he is great, but difficult for a man to appear pleasant and agreeable when he is neither. Though if your talents are such that you cannot appear great in the sight of others, you can approach greatness by being pleasant and agreeable. The sad face, reflecting a gloomy heart, will deaden even the joyfulness of youth. Chapter 10. The greatest attribute of man and the most dangerous and discomforting gift of El is free will. Most men use it unwisely, yet it is the golden promise of Elohimhood. Be cautious at all times. 2 arrows in the quiver are better than 1, and 3 better still. At all times, leaven your deeds with caution, and measure them with prudence as a guide. For as the whirlwind raises the sweeping sandstorm that overwhelms the works of men, so does the irresponsible voice of the multitude overwhelm reason in those who heed it without judgment. Guests always bring pleasure of some kind, if not in their arrival, then with their departure. If one comes with a request, never say, "Come again tomorrow, I will give," when it is in your power to grant it today. Consider well your family and friends, what they are like, for they are clear pools wherein you see yourself reflected. A man has the wife, family, and friends he deserves. Is your dwelling a haven of joy in a sea of sorrow? Is it the treasure house of sympathy and understanding? Or do you reside in a place harboring naught but luxury and comfort, where the stifling air is befouled with the unwholesome lust for ease? Comfort can be invited in as a guest, but beware lest it stay to rule the household. It is easier to be the slave of luxury than the master. The virgin soil is yours to cultivate as you will. It is fertile and responsive. Let it not want for care, for if it be unhusbanded, it will remain barren and unproductive. The good pasture that is neglected produces weeds in abundance. And who is blamed, the pasture or the husbandman? The seed which you sow will produce a crop to be reaped in the fullness of time. The weeds you neglect to pull up will multiply and pollute the harvest. Brothers, a harvest of gladness and pride can be yours, as according to your sowing and attention, so shall you reap. To know the plan of the Most High Adonai is not enough. The scriptures are not given to be just known, but to be lived. You may have knowledge of the words written, but do you also live them in your heart? After listening to the words of a wise master, one said, "You are unbending in your teachings. Is it not wise to follow the path of moderation?" The master answered, "I am not interested in moderate faith or moderate goodness, moderate honesty or moderate virtue. There can be no moderation in things of vital importance. The moderate man is not for me. Would you eat a moderately fresh egg? Or want to live in a house that keeps out most of the wind and rain? Would you be satisfied with most of your wages? A standard of moderate morality is no standard at all. Another stranger then accosted the master and said, "The doctrine you teach is sound, but I don't like your methods." The master answered, "Is that so? Well, actually, I'm not too satisfied with them myself. Tell me, how do you inspire men to live in harmony among themselves?" The stranger paused and said, "I don't," replied the master. "Then I prefer the way I do it to the way you don't. Let this written wisdom be the straight edge to show you how much you deviate from the true. Use it to align yourself, to eliminate the crookedness. Not the least purpose of these writings is to reveal your weaknesses, to remind you that your body is but dust, and to stimulate your ruach with the joyous knowledge of the glories awaiting your awakened soul." Chapter 11. Seek always after shalom and quietude, and find friends among the silent ones. The man who fears to be alone with himself in silence or solitude will never discover the secrets of the soul. Some men go into the wilderness to commune with their soul in silence, and there do they receive a reply. Discretion and caution are not akin to cowardice. Even the ants scout before moving in force. It is wise to cross the field before you abuse the bull, and learn to swim before you rock the boat. The basic motive behind a righteous and good life is not the quest for happiness. Righteousness, goodness, and morality are other words meaning self-discipline, duty, obligation, and service. These form a foundation upon which a proper way of life can be built. And within the framework of this foundation, the quest for happiness is certainly not restricted. Indeed, not only is it encouraged, but also earnestly urged. As far as man is concerned, the purpose of his life is the development and preparation of his soul for something greater. This cannot be undertaken in a half-hearted manner or at specific times. It is a process continuing every minute of the day. Every test confronting man here is purposeful and necessary, even though its reason and end may be obscure. Forget what has been done and cannot be altered, and do not be concerned about things which may never happen. Devote your attention to the present and gain the most from life. Arise early in the morning and greet the day eagerly, for the sluggard and lie abed are already partially dead. If you have anything of value, keep it away from an envious man. Eat and drink in moderation, taking sufficient for the well-being of the body without overloading it. Be proud but not haughty, straight-talking but not insulting. Be bold but not aggressive, patient but not servile. Bear in mind that it is better for a man to be numbered among the insulted than among the insulters, among the slandered, and not among the slanderers. If visited by affliction or sorrow, a man should not bewail his lot, for these should be the means of drawing him closer into the embrace of divinity. They are meant to strengthen his ruach and develop his ruachuality. No man has any right to expect an untroubled life, and one who has passed half a year without trouble or affliction has already received ample reward for living and should not feel entitled for more. While man walks earth, sorrow ever dogs his footsteps. It will come close enough unbidden. Therefore encourage it not with your own ill judgment. Sorrow is the purging agent of the Ruach, and suffering the flux merging man with divinity. They also help to distinguish pure love from mock love, for pure love is the unquenchable fire which the waters of tribulation cannot put out. The good and the wicked are tested, and no one is exempt. The difference is that the righteous man uses the tests to benefit himself, while the unrighteous turns them against himself and Elohim to destroy his own soul. No man should be overwhelmed by the troubles and tribulations which come upon him. They are intended to be utilized for the benefit of his soul and the strengthening of his ruach. And bearing this in mind, he should be better able to endure them. In the greater scheme of things, the times of affliction and adversity are not to be feared so much, for then men incline towards ruachual things. It is in times of prosperity, when they acquire wealth and become conceited and self-centered, that the danger lies. For then they twist the commanding words and austere meanings of the Kodesh books, and pervert them to console their own consciences. Therefore, in times of prosperity and contentment, a man must be more careful in the interpretation of the Kodesh books than he would be when he only turned to them for strength and consolation. Chapter 12. Never try to appease a man in the hour of his anger. Leave him to be consumed in his own fire. When two persons quarrel in anger, both are always in the wrong. Before you vent your anger on a man who has offended you, Selah, and try to discover some goodness in him which you lack. It is not required that a person never get angry or become stirred up inside, for sometimes circumstances demand the response of righteous anger. Therefore, be one slow to anger, and with complete mastery over the temper, rather than one without the ability to be stirred to anger. Do not be too sweet unless you want to be eaten. Few are those who recognize their own defects, and fewer still those who honestly acknowledge them. Even less in number are those who earnestly strive to overcome them, though this is an essential part of life's purpose. Most men are hypocrites and self-deceivers. One of the greatest defects of character is sheer indifference and lack of interest in anything greater. A man can gain wisdom and enlightenment only when he has labored at reading and diligently studying the Kodesh books. Casual thinking about higher things and reading for amusement or pleasure produce no beneficial end and serve no useful purpose. The man of sound character bestirs himself in the cause of good and diligently studies the Kodesh books to know what is required of him. He accepts with good grace the tasks imposed upon him and does not shirk his duties and obligations. He does not try to interpret the teachings of the Kodesh books in such a way that things are made easier for him, nor does he treat their command lightly. Neither does he shun the service they require from him. He knows that no matter how hard he strives, they can still lead him on towards greater perfection. No man is asked to be perfect. He is only asked to strive towards perfection with all his heart and strength. Avoid those whose natures are shallow or superficial, even though they be attractive and pleasant. Shallow streams sparkle most, and weakest waters make the most pleasant sound. Chapter 13. There are many whose understanding of friendship is mere companionship, and they neither seek nor know anything deeper. Such people should not be cultivated beyond acquaintanceship. No man really knows another until he has seen him exposed to danger and loss. Even then, he cannot know him fully until he has seen him when tested by prosperity and success. Man is to make the most of conditions as he finds them and get all the happiness he can from life within the framework laid down in the Kodesh books. Earthly conditions are not to be accepted passively, for every man has a duty to make some improvement, however slight, upon the earthly state of things. Not only must he make the best of earthly conditions, but he must also improve them so that more happiness may be gained. Though this may appear to serve only an earthly end, it is not entirely the case, for in the effort lies the ruachual development. The amount of ruachual experience and enlightenment permitted any man is just sufficient not to upset the balance of his life or nullify his earthly existence. This is a fact which should be clearly understood by those ignorant persons who rail against the lack of divine interventions or guidance. Followers of the lived religion enjoy a balanced, harmonious life, and a life well and profitably lived. It is a life of many contrasts and experiences, with a steady advance towards ruachuality. All earthly goals are elusive, and their attainment may not bring the pleasure and happiness anticipated. There is only one goal towards which everyone can advance with certainty and assurance, and that is the goal of an awakened soul. The very things which defeat earthly ends and render them impossible to accomplish are, if viewed in the proper perspective, aids towards the achievement of ruachuality. Out of earthly failure and frustration can come ruachual accomplishment and gain. If you can understand this, the good life is yours. Conscience is the best guide, and experience the best teacher. Nature is the best book, and life the highest form of schooling. Death is the great graduation day. The purpose of learning is to know the good from the bad, the beneficial from the harmful. The good and beneficial should not be scorned, whoever dispenses them. Would you take poison, even if offered by your best friend? Or refuse dressing for a wound because it is given by an enemy? Because there are many false prophets, the words of a true prophet do not lose their value. No man has ever sought to counterfeit a valueless thing. The vine is judged by the drink it produces, and not by its leaves and appearance. It is the end product that matters. The outward vestments of a religion are unimportant, for gaudy ones may hide a festering ruach, while unimposing garments may clothe a healthy one. Disregard the bottle, and give your attention to its contents. I do not expect man to achieve perfection here on earth, but only to seek it. What is expected of man is a sincere and honest effort, without any hypocritical or deceptive reservations. My divine design requires that man makes a conscious choice of right under the constant pressure of temptation to do otherwise. This also leaves man free to choose wrong. Man chooses wrong instead of right for just two reasons. Either it is the easy path of least resistance, or it is the most alluring. Chapter 14. On earth, the body is equally as important as the soul. Keep it clean and in good health, that it may fittingly render such service as the soul requires. The nearest approach that can be made to complete bliss on earth is to enjoy the blessing of good health. Remember that the call of the food table exceeds the needs of the body. The man who overeats is worse than the beast who knows no better. Eat only when hungry, and drink only when thirsty. And consume food slowly and with content, for a restless stomach robs it of taste and goodness. To overeat is as harmful as to starve. Eat to fill a third part of the stomach, drink to fill a third part, and leave the rest empty. To fast is not an empty deed, and is healthful for both ruach and body. It teaches discipline and self-control, as well as moderation and frugality. Gluttony is a disgrace to manhood, for as a man grows in girth, he declines in vigor. One thing replaces another. He who eats little is zestful, while he who gorges himself is sluggish. He whose greatest interest lies in satisfying the demands of the stomach is a reproach to manhood, for he is dominated by his appetite. The stomach always cries for more than it requires. Sufficient food maintains health. Overmuch destroys it. Beer drunk in moderation does no harm, and wine in small quantities can bring contentment and pleasure. Be kind to your body, which is the vehicle of your pilgrimage and the chariot of your conquest. Keep it in health and strength, that you may enjoy life with vigor. It was not meant that the body should be neglected, and in fact the Torah ordains that recompense be made for a neglected body. A body made weak by dissipation and gross from fat living is an abomination unto the Adon of life. If the head be unclean, it will lead to blindness. If the garments worn are unclean, it will lead to madness. If the body is unclean, it will lead to sores and sickness. Do not overeat or oversleep, for body rust is not an unreal thing. Chapter 15. Joy and contentment come from something a man has within himself, and not from things without. Solitude is a torment to the uneasy heart, but balm to the contented one. The well-done task that encompasses your day brings healthy sleep in its train. Do not weary yourself concerning the affairs of the day, nor be overanxious about your household and estate. Things happen. Disaster or power come according to the dispensations of Elohim. Follow your inclinations. And if your plans go awry, continue in shalom. Do your best, and be content that you can do no more. Let your heart be quiet within your body, and your body will not be unhealthy. The body is the guest chamber of the soul. Let the soul not abide in squalor. The rule is moderation in all things. Turn from unmanly ways. Follow the path of cleanliness, and avoid the indulgences of soft living and iniquity. Follow these sayings and sleep soundly. Spend your waking hours in shalom. Do not accustom yourself to lying in bed while the dawn is breaking in beauty, for no man is truly wholesome unless he has knowledge of the dawn. The cup of gladness may be sipped by man, but to drain it is too much for the constitution of mortals. Enjoy life. Take whatever it gives with high recote. When it bestows contentment, be contented. When life presents the test, rise above it. And when disaster strikes, meet it like a man. Contentment is a worthy goal of life, but first the race has to be run. None can receive the crown of the victor until the course is finished, and he takes his place among the competitors in the halls of eternity. Therefore, be content if your burdens are bearable and your sorrows counterbalanced by your joys. Remember that pleasure is the companion, not the guide of your journey. Contentment is a state of mind, not an end. But he who is content with anything deserves nothing. The days that are past have gone forever, and those who sleep in the womb of the future may not be beheld by you in your present state of being. Therefore, it is well to concern yourself wholly with the present, forgetting the past, and not expecting too much from the future. Live today fully. Sigh not for tomorrow, for it will come. Regret not yesterday, for it is gone. From whence does sadness come? Not from external circumstances, but from a worm within the heart. It can have no existence but for the sustenance it saps from your own feebleness of ruach. Sorrow there will always be, for the Torah decrees that it is essential for the tempering of the ruach. But sorrow is another adversary to conquer and cast out. It is not something to be accepted with resignation. The greatest benefit comes from rising above it. Therefore, let your face shine with cheerfulness, for a cheerful countenance will bring brightness even into the lives of the afflicted, and gladness even to the most distressed. Chapter 16. It is decreed, by the nature of things, that womankind should fall into two groups, and each woman is to be dealt with according to the category in which she placed herself. These are the two categories of womankind: wives or potential wives, and women of pleasure. The first of these are the intended mates of men, their companions and comforters, the mothers of their children and the keepers of their hearths. The others become their companions in carnal pleasure. They dally with them, then cast them aside, as they pass on to the embrace of other uncaring men. Each woman decides which category she will join, and that is her chosen path. Never confuse the two kinds of women, lest you eat out your heart in sorrow and regret. Be considerate, for the husband without consideration prepares his own betrayal. If you commit adultery, then prepare to flee, for men will rise against you. For if they revile not the adulterer, nor raise their arms against him, all men must look to their own wives. If men fail to punish the adulterer, then they encourage the seduction of their own women. In the land of weaklings, the adulterer hunts freely, for who will oppose him? Is it not written, that which is not punished is condoned? When a woman whose husband is absent displays her beauty and encourages your visit, when she arranges that there be no witnesses and prepares her net for you, then is the hour of your manhood's trial. Depart from her house, for it is a place of evil. If you are unfortunate and unwise enough to love the wife of another man, then degrade not that love by expressing it in dark corners like a cur. Go to the husband, like a man, and let events happen as they will. He who defiles the home of another cannot be justly wrathful if his own is defiled. The beauty of womanhood was ordained to inspire man, and of all things it is his greatest incentive to achievement. Therefore, a woman's secrets are not to be lightly attained. The evil of the harlot is that she counters the inspiration of womanhood. Her wickedness is her cheapness. The pleasures of a harlot are of the body and exist only for a moment. They pass into nothingness like a dream. Therefore, be wise in your dealings with women. And to be wise is to be prudent and strong. Reject that which is easily given, for it will be shared with many men. Seek only that which is desirable in its near unattainability, for it will be yours alone. No man is more generous than he who marries a common woman, for he shares her with the multitude. When you find a good woman, cherish her as your greatest treasure. Let your kindness and consideration take possession of her heart. She is the mistress in your home, so treat her with respect, that the children shall obey her, and the stranger treat her with diffidence. For if a man treats not his wife with respect, can he take offense when others observing this treat her likewise? Home is not where the body rests, but where the heart resides. It is also where a man receives the most care for the least thanks. A good residence is built on a rock. A good home is established around a good woman. A man loves his mother and his father, his sisters and his brothers, all his life. Yet they are not of his choosing. How much more likely should it be that he would love his wife, whom he himself chooses? Or is man's judgment less wise than that of fate? Nothing will ever bring you greater pleasure and joy than a good wife, or more sorrow than a bad one. Yet of all things he does bearing on his life and future, a man generally uses the least wisdom when choosing a wife.